listening to the Bulk Boys podcast, broadcasted live from my 525 square foot apartment using my fiance's stolen cat headphones. This show is the only time in our lives when she thinks it takes me too long to finish. My inaugural guest, and probably my future co-host, is Jakob S of JSStrength. At the age of 21, Jakob has squatted 475, benched 315, and deadlifted 600. Though I'd count his 500-pound squat as legal depth at any commercial gym. He's a hell of a lifter and a hell of a coach. One thing I've picked up on about Jakob is a kind of calm introspection that's well beyond his years. That self-honesty carries over into his training, allowing him to know when his body is telling him something different than what's written on the spreadsheet. He applies that same skill to the athletes he advises, making him a great programmer and game day coach. You can find Jakob at JSStrength on YouTube and JSStrength_0 on Instagram, and email him at jsstrength@outlook.com for coaching inquiries. Our conversation covers the impact of temperament on training, how to progressively overload your mindset, our mutual fanboying for Sam Shathar and Pete Rubish, and selfishness as the truest path to altruism.
I actually am from, if you've ever seen Breaking Bad, I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's where I was born and raised.
Wow, okay.
And so I'm currently living along the Wisconsin border in Illinois. And dude, I'm not even going to get in the story of how I got up here, but I'm moving back is the long story in a couple weeks.
That's a huge life shift to be going through, especially if you're in the middle of school.
Yeah. So I just had a gap year basically.
Okay.
So I got through my first, I want to say like 2.5, what would be if I had like a 4-year like undergrad education. I got through like the first 2.5 years and I was just so burnt out that I was just like, I just need a break mentally.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I've been working, 2 jobs pretty much the whole time, but it at least gave me a mental break from just stuffing my brain full of information for the last like 15 years. So,
Yeah.
um,
I think that shows a lot of maturity and kind of courage too, to have sort of the ability to step outside of your situation and say, I mean, so many people are pushing you probably, in your life or just generally in culture down the road of like, you finish the 4-year education, right? And then you get job, capital letters. And to be able to say, hey, like, this actually isn't productive for me. You said cramming your head full of information, like to be able to step back and recognize that it's not fruitful. That takes a lot of maturity, I think. And also, like I said, courage, to kind of steer your own course a little bit and trust that it's going to work out.
Yeah, thank you, man. I mean, it did take a lot of that. It's kind of weird how my family dynamic works. Everyone in my dad's side of the family that I'm related to by blood has a master's degree.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah. So, and then on the flip side, my mom never graduated high school. So it's like I've got this weird kind of dichotomy where on one hand, it's like, I've seen my mom who's successful, in life, and I've seen my dad who's successful in life. And obviously they went about it in two completely opposite ways, where my mom essentially just climbed the corporate ladder and my dad went and, went through all the education, sat down with a bunch of different job interviews and basically just bounced around the same field until he got to a place where he was making enough to like pay back those loans basically. So
Yeah. I mean, that's a fortunate perspective to have growing up, to kind of see two options that are available to you that both, lead to success. But yeah, the student loans are becoming a lot more real to me now that I'm
I can
finishing
imagine,
up
man.
here.
Part of the reason I'm going back at all is because in New Mexico, your undergrad is free if you're a resident.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, they tax the lottery there, like the state lottery, super hard. So all of that goes back into higher education.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a smart system. I wish that it was like that in more states, but
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'll get into it another time. I could literally rant about that fucking city. That
Man,
could be its whole podcast.
maybe like a return trip
Yeah,
to cover that.
know.
I moved out to California from North Carolina to start my master's, and my dad and I like did the whole road trip thing in my 2011 Ford Ranger, and literally like my worldly possessions were flying out of the back of the Ford Ranger because the bed cover got stripped off on I-40. And it was like, it was such a mess, but it's kind of weirdly freeing because it's like, all right, I'm really starting over now. But we stopped in Albuquerque, and dude, I trained at this crazy gym. It was more like a bodybuilding kind of gym, but it was just,
is it Iron Soul?
Maybe that sounds right.
It's right off the freeway.
Yeah, and this like huge warehouse, you know. And
so I have a really funny story actually. So about a year after I got into lifting, I got a membership there because I thought I was like some hot shit. I don't know. And so I started lifting when I was 15. And I remember this very vividly, very vividly. My first bench max was 105 pounds. This was about 3 or so months into basically just being like a curl bro, where I just would do curls and push-ups and my first squat max was 185 pounds, if I had to guess, 75, 85 pounds. And then I did 225 with awful technique on deadlift.
Nice.
And my overhead press was almost the same as my bench, actually. I think it was about 85 pounds.
What do you think accounted for that? Were you just like
athletic background. So I played sports from the time I was 3 to the time I was 14. Like nonstop, no breaks.
Yeah.
So I was playing some combination of when I was really young, it was t-ball, but really it was American football and basketball. But there's a pretty big upper body component to both of those sports, but it's not really like a pectoral type of engagement because you're mostly working kind of in this like sort of semi overhead, like incline bench range.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why my incline bench is almost the same as, or was almost the same as my flat for like right up until the last like 6 months.
Wow. So that took like a concerted effort for you to kind of progress your bench ahead. That's, it's interesting. I've seen a lot of footage. Like I watch the JSStrength guys, and they show, throwers and football players sometimes who like their pressing is mostly incline. And it makes sense from the position you're like driving out of. I'd never played football. I watched my brother play flag football. That's the closest I ever got to it. I was like a tiny child and teenager, because I was into endurance sports. But like, it's interesting that plane is probably a more productive one to train. And I mean, the bro scientist in me is like, look at basketball players' delts, right? And it's like they're probably not even pressing.
That's what I think too, right?
Yeah,
is like you can look at those guys and they're skin and bone, but you know what? They got calves, hamstrings, and delts.
Totally. Yeah.
And I was probably a better basketball player than I was anything else, because I think probably when I was about 12, I stopped playing American football because I just hated the dad coach thing where like whoever the coach was, their kid was the quarterback.
Right.
And I had this complex where I was like, I'm the smartest guy on the team, but I'm stuck on the line. So I was a pudgy kid. I should probably have mentioned that. And so that just, and I basically talked my parents into like basically only basketball. And so I made the JV team in my high school my freshman year. And then I quit like a week after because I was just so burned out because I'd played like 8 seasons in a row, no break. Basketball and then the school. Yeah. It was literally just 8 seasons straight.
Is that what kind of that void was that what kind of drove you to the gym, or how that transition happened?
Man, it's a lot of things. I experienced my first heartbreak when I was 15, and I think that was the final straw, right?
Yeah.
But really, I think what it was is that I had 11 years straight where I was doing something physical.
Yeah.
And then I had about 5 months where I wasn't doing anything physical, and I just needed something to do.
Yeah.
And so that pretty much pushed me into the gym, and then I had this friend from PE class who got me into lifting, and he was more the bodybuilder type, he was big, like Arnold, Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love those guys too. I think when I started lifting, Thor had just won the Arnold Classic for the second time, 500 kilo attempt where the head is bleeding. And
that
that was
makes me
like,
feel so old, by the way.
that was, yeah. And so that was like, I thought that was the coolest shit. And I wanted
Yeah.
to be just like that. And so that's pretty much where I went into the strength side of things. Obviously, there's a little physique development that goes on the side, you know, not
Totally.
as other than just building up my lifts. So that's pretty much how I got into the gym. Is I just heartbreak mixed with the void of something to do, because I was basically just playing video games for 5 months, and it was just not fun.
It's the perfect potion, man. You know, I really think there's something to like the things that like give you the most dopamine probably are ingrained from childhood. And like for me, it's the same thing. Like I've always needed a physical release, you know, and it's like an anxiety thing for me. It's a stress management thing. And so like whatever that looked like, I've had to have something where I'm exerting myself in my days. So I totally identify with that. It sounds like you started because you had that need, you know, and then also, of course, the heartbreak. I mean, I remember Megan Pulowski. She's still out there somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But that was
Yeah, I
my
don't even
15-year-old. Yeah.
Man, I don't even want to like say her name, because I have this theory that she watches my channel.
Okay.
Dude, I
She
like,
can't let go.
yeah, dude, well, it's not even that. It was a whole thing. I'm not gonna get into it.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
over. It's done with. It's dead. We're gonna leave it there.
Fair enough.
But like, you know, I'm still good friends with a lot of people I went to high school with.
Yeah.
And I never post my social or my lifting social media alongside my like personal stuff, because
Sure.
I kind of want to keep those a little bit separate, because there's some real weirdos when it comes to lifting. And
Absolutely.
so I did it one time,
Uh,
and I literally like I had the story up on my my Snapchat, and I went and looked at the viewers, and it was a public story, and sure as shit, there she is. And
oh
I was like,
wow.
yeah. But there were a lot of people there, to be fair. I mean, it could have
Yeah.
been so. But yeah, that was pretty much the perfect potion. And then I pretty much kind of spun my wheels, to be honest,
Yeah.
for the first couple years. And I, at the end of high school, I think like literally the day before my graduation ceremony, I tore my hamstring. And yeah, I know, which is kind of a freak injury, because
Yeah.
it's kind of, I mean, I think I deadlifted 440, and that was what I tore my hamstring on.
Well,
And
good. I'm glad you weren't playing tag or something.
no, and it was, man, and that took me out of the gym for like a year and a half, because I just kept re-injuring it.
That's brutal.
And I just,
Were you trying to
listen,
come back too fast?
yeah,
You think?
I was just reckless. I don't want to say I'm impulsive, but like, you know, there's a certain level of like 18-year-old, 19-year-old guy
Totally.
needs a physical outlet, but like
Yeah.
physically can't. Like my favorite lift is the deadlift. I'm sure you can figure that out.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of my way of like handling life and the aggression that I felt. And so didn't have that outlet anymore. So I just kept trying to bang my head against the wall, and it just did not work.
Yeah, that's brutal. Yeah. You gotta find that substitute. Man, I've had tendonitis keeping me from doing low bar. And it's like for me, the squat's always been that way, you know, and it's the thing I'm least weak at. So it's like I've been doing high bar, but it's just not the same. You know, you're everyone's stronger low bar, right? So
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
right, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, low bar is a finicky, she's a finicky girl, man. She just doesn't want to work with you all the time. It's annoying. And the thing is, I've never really had problems with low bar with the tendonitis things, because I still
Yeah.
kind of have like a Gumby upper body a little bit.
Nice.
But because of that hamstring injury, it's a pain in the ass to hit depth, because I got so used to being locked out, basically.
Yeah.
So yesterday, actually, I hit a squat PR.
Oh,
Because I've
damn.
just
Nice.
basically like my way of was, because after I hit that 600, I was like, fuck this, I'm taking a break. Is I'm just doing legs twice a week, and then I'm just doing rehab work for my upper body, because I have this like, I have golfer's elbow. And so I hit a 475. It was good. And I was like, screw it, we're loading 500 on the bar.
Hell yeah.
And I went down, stood up, and I was like, yeah. And one of my friends got me at the perfect side angle to see the depth. I'm an inch high.
Oh man, it counts in the SPF though,
Dude.
you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and I mean, by that commercial gym standard, I'm going way below depth.
Yeah, you got to be the Shane Hunt of
everybody
Anytime
watching
Fitness, you know.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
That's the winner. I don't know. Shane, man.
Dude, he trains at this
There's so
gym
many
down
people
the
out there.
yeah, he trains down the street, man. I see him in
Oh,
there.
does
It's
he
like,
really?
yeah, dude, the like
Yeah.
YouTube does
Yeah.
not do him justice. His fucking hamstrings look like a different muscle group. That it's
Yeah.
like yeah, like seeing him online, it's not the same.
hmm
And then he's just
You
in
know,
there like,
I saw Dr. Deadlift, Cailer Woolam.
yeah.
He posted a picture of himself, and I don't even want to repeat this, to be honest. He posted a picture of himself, like basically from the back, like bent over in like spandex,
Uh-huh.
and his hamstrings. And you see each individual hamstring
Oh, that's
looks
wild.
like a fucking cable wire, and that's when I
Yeah.
knew. I was like, damn, maybe I should train that. And
Yeah.
then, and then everything took off from there. After I graduated from high school, I was a volunteer high school powerlifting coach, and that's kind of where I cut my teeth when I was first starting.
Oh, cool.
And I still coach a few of those guys online now because, like, in the nicest way possible, the coaches that are there now are football coaches, and they're not weight training coaches, and so they'll run those guys into the ground.
Yeah.
And so one of the guys that I coach, this kid full of piss, like just so driven. I can't get him to calm down, man. He's just gonna be the next John Hack if he keeps it up. I really believe that. I mean,
yeah,
because he I partially did that squat yesterday because I'm like, I don't want this 160-pound teenager to beat my squat. Yeah. That I'm coaching.
Damn.
That I'm
right,
coaching.
right. Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, I gotta lock in, man. I mean, it's incredible. I posted his one of his totals in January, I want to say. And I mean, for a 160-pound kid who's been lifting for 2 years, I would say a 460 squat, 225 bench, and a 500 deadlift's pretty good.
Damn. Yeah. I mean, he's coming up on 3 times body weight squat. That's like,
yeah,
that's wild.
he's got this complex where he truly believes that not that he is the best, but that he can be the best.
Sure.
And that's what I love. I love that mentality. That's something that I really desperately needed when I was first starting to work out.
Do you feel like you didn't trust yourself? Like you didn't trust your talent?
Yeah. I think I should have been more realistic about probably my genetic potential. Like, listen, I don't think genetics are the end all be all for lifting the way a lot of people do. I think it has a lot more to do with like work ethic and, your preparation, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I've got 3 different people that I'm related to by blood who were Division I football players, and 2 of those could have gone to the NFL if they wanted to.
Yeah.
So, or like as an undrafted guy, but it's like, and I'm the shortest of my male cousins. I'm 6'1".
Really? Wow.
Yeah. The women in my family are, excluding my mom, all about 5'10". So,
wow. Yeah. You've got like a Viking blood in you, man.
Yeah,
you got that Pete Rubish heritage.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I'm such a Pete Rubish fanboy, or I used to be. I mean, now, I mean, listen, I love that guy because he was my coach actually for a little while.
Really?
Yeah. So I learned a little bit. Actually, a lot of my bench methodology is kind of based on him. Ironically, of course, he's not known for his bench, but I learned a lot based on what he had me doing for bench, which was 3 days of actual like bench training, and then 1 like accessory day where I just did like what do you have me do, like JM press and skull crushers, that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, very, very heavy on the specificity, a little too much for my personal liking, but it did influence me a lot because it kind of took the governor off on what I thought was possible with frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I've seen a lot of my progress, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I've found just for myself and my own shitty lifts that like the more frequently I can train movement, like the better I progress. So it's like I'd rather sort of titrate up my volume to where it's like, okay, I can do 3 work sets 3 times a week, and I get more out of that than doing like 5, twice a week of squat or something. But so wait, was Pete Rubish like? Working with him, was that the first time that you were on like a structured program, or had you just been writing your own stuff before that?
Man, I've been really fortunate. I've had a lot of really good mentors. So Luke got me into lifting. Luke Baldoni is his name. He's I think he's a graduate student now at the University of New Mexico. crazy work ethic. Like he doesn't exactly know how to put into words, but he's very knowledgeable about exercise. And he brought me into the weight training class at my high school, where I met the weight training teacher, D. McGilvray, I think is how you say his name. And she is was the Masters women's world champion for weightlifting.
Oh wow, like Olympic
And
lifting?
Yeah. And she went to the Olympics for other sports as well when she was younger. So she's like an 8-time Olympian or something.
That's wild.
Yeah. And D was very like hammered home, recovery and good technique, especially, as you would imagine from an Olympic weightlifter. And just hammered home a lot of really good habits that I really can't thank the two of them for enough.
Yeah.
Now, Pete was kind of my introduction to like what was more geared toward powerlifting and strongman and getting your actual basic functions stronger and not just getting stronger by getting your technique better or getting bigger for bodybuilding purposes.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the intersection, and that's what I learned from Pete, I would say.
That makes sense. And just stepping back and thinking about like Pete Rubish as like a persona, like those basement washing machine deadlift days, he's like that kid that you're trying to hold back on the powerlifting team,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so it's interesting that mentality feels, I mean, like philosophically opposed to someone who was an Olympic weightlifter, right? Who would be very precise and technical and measured, and so it's cool that you kind of found a way to blend both of those, I guess, or got both perspectives early on.
I mean, I think you can pull a lot from every discipline of lifting. I pulled a lot from like sprint training and stuff too. I mean, I'm literally wearing a West Side Barbell shirt
nice,
right now,
classic,
right now.
Yeah.
And honestly, like the information that I think West Side Barbell doesn't get enough credit for is all of the research from other exercise disciplines that they brought into lifting. And I mean, you can learn from everyone. Like here I am having this conversation with you. Like I'm assuming that you know something that I don't, and you're assuming the same of me. And that's what makes this conversation so interesting, is that we both can learn something that helps us out in our own lives. Also, this is going on YouTube, but like, you know what I'm saying is that this conversation would be pretty boring for both of us if we just assumed we already knew everything that the other had.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like, I mean, you see, this is just like, I think, inherent in human nature, but you see the factions on like fitness YouTube, and like the RP form cyborg camp. And then you got people just trying to horse cock it, and hump the tricep push down like Sam Sulek. But, you got to be able to blend approaches, like I've been thinking a lot about my sort of rowing work, and I was doing a lot of kind of seal rows for a while, which were great. And I mean, like they were really effective for kind of helping me stay tight on bench because you're kind of working that range, but I just got back to like floating barbell rows, and kind of getting some letting my low back in to get some added kind of load on the bar and just controlling the eccentric. And I feel like that's already, I'm seeing carry over into my deadlift for that, and so I think it's about you just always knowing that you don't know everything, I guess, and coming in with that mindset is definitely.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah.
I think Louis Simmons has something that he says where it's like everything, I mean, not literally, but everything works, but nothing works forever. Because I had the exact same thing that you just said with the seal row, like word for word.
Really?
I had the exact same thing happen to me like 6 months ago. And I actually have a top 5 back exercises video that's in the works right now.
Nice.
But the thing is that I can't I almost am a little concerned. Like I feel like I'm not qualified to, not because I don't have big back. It's because I walked into the gym and I already had a big back.
Oh, okay. I see well, that's kind of,
I mean, like I walked into the gym and I could go like 3/4 of the way down on the lat pull down. And
wow.
I could I think I'm trying to remember back. I think I could pretty much walk in and do 10 like very minimal kipping pull-ups. Like literally just, So, but that was not me at all for any other exercise, really at all.
Yeah. You just kind of naturally had that development.
it's that farm boy. I don't know what it is. Like,
Yeah, the country strong.
You got enough Russian farmers in your bloodline, and it just happens.
Shows up. Yeah, got to be pulling against the mules whenever they try to get away.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess. Yeah.
I have no idea. It is really interesting. I think the genetic variation between people, because I just posted another client that I work with, Dom. He's another guy that I kind of had to rein back early on. I love working with those guys, but he is as built to bench as it gets, pretty much, because I remember him walking into the Sandia High School weight room and benching 205, and he literally did not bench ever before that. He had
Wow, just cold.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And it's just, it's a slow progression. I well and truly believe that he would have benched 405 had I been coaching him consistently since that time. I coached him for about a year, and then I was off doing my college stuff.
Sure.
And he didn't want to deal with an online coach at the time, and I respect that.
Yeah.
But I fully believe he would have benched 405 at 19.
That's wild.
Because he's just one of those guys, and he's still probably going to bench 405 by 21.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Is he the guy who put up like 150 kilos in that meet? Am I remembering right?
Yeah.
Or is that a different?
155 kilos. And I told him, even, I was like, when I get back into town, I'm going to fix your bench technique, because you would have gotten your third if you didn't let it sink so far.
Oh, wow. What was his third?
160.
Okay.
And it was close. Damn. I mean, it was real close. He just, I don't know where these kids are coming out of the freaking woodwork nowadays.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I feel like I'm at a point now where some people kind of view me as like that young guy who's like just kind of walked into the gym and lifted, but they don't see as like the first, like, I would say like 3.5 years where I was really, really average in the gym.
Yeah.
I would say, and I mean, I guess that's how it goes with any lifter, is they don't see all the hard work. They just see the peak of you doing something ridiculous at 20 or 21, 22.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's just perpetuated by like the YouTube short, like social media, right? Because it's like you're just scrolling through and, no, you're totally removed from context sometimes unless you follow that person, But what do you think led to that shift? Was it just the consistency kind of accumulating over those years?
Yeah, I'll be 100% honest with you. I was not consistent. It was definitely the consistency was a big one.
Okay.
And the mentality. Those are the two things. Is that I didn't really believe in myself. I had a lot of really negative influences early on in my life. I don't know. I don't want to get all sad on here, but I had a lot of things that made me like kind of beaten down confidence-wise.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't even know what it was. I think just one day it might have been the time I deadlifted 500 for the first time, because there's two squat racks right next to each other, and they were like, I was 19, I think. Yeah. And there was a bunch of high schoolers who were 16 or 17 and doing deadlifts next to me, and they all maxed out at like 250 or less. I did 500, and I was like, holy, like I wasn't in these guys' shoes that long ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're all looking at me like I'm some freak of nature. I don't think I'm that cool, because social media has made me think I'm not that cool. That, and once I was healed, I kind of felt like I had to make up for lost time.
Yeah.
And I also kind of found my groove where I know how to make myself consistent, which is train every day. And that's not a joke. Not something I'd recommend. Everyone should take rest days. But for me, if I don't go in and do something every day, I just fall off the wagon. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think I think you build up a habit. Your body gets used to kind of doing certain things at a certain time. And so, it makes sense, especially from where you came from, kind of feeling like you needed that outlet, to not get that every day. It's just, I mean, that throws off your whole rhythm, I think, and your kind of like mental, or at least maybe I'm speaking more for myself, but like my mental stability, because I'm the same way. Like I'm sure that I would, progress better if I didn't train daily, but I absolutely do, and like I just kind of regulate volume, and my sessions are probably a lot shorter than a lot of other guys, but I do that so I can come in the next day and the next day and the next day, and because that's just how I want to live my life, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure this feeling is like people are like, wow, you go to the gym every day, and you're like, man, you must work out for like 2.5 hours, and I'm like, nope, not really. I kind of work out like depending on what, like if I'm doing lower body, it'll take a little over an hour total throughout the day. Here's my other job besides personal training is I load cargo planes for UPS, and
Oh
so what I'll
wow,
do
that's
is
physical.
I'll do my important shit in the morning before I go into work, and then I'll do all my accessory shit after I get back.
That makes
And so,
sense.
but like combined, it's probably an hour 15 or an hour and a half every day.
Wow.
But a
Yeah.
lot of that is like me warming up
Mhm.
to deadlift because or to squat because in the morning you're fucking tired. You don't want to go in there.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just gotta like, I don't know, just gotta do it. So
Do you use any kind of stimulants in the morning before you
I'm
go in?
this might be my biggest fitness hot take. I'm actually pretty anti stimulants for
Okay.
training.
Yeah.
Um, so you and I have discussed a little bit about our history with insomnia.
Yeah.
So, I did not sleep more than I would say 6 hours a night from the time I was probably 8 or 9 until I
Wow.
started lifting consistently at 15 or 16.
That's crazy.
I mean, there were times I did,
Mhm.
but it was like
You couldn't
Friday
count
night,
on it.
Saturday night, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, sorry, the wind is blowing fucking everything around
Oh, that's
outside.
good. Well, the AC unit in here is loud as hell,
Yeah, I
so
don't know
it's the
if you can
same
hear
deal.
like there's a tree right here and a branch
Uh,
just slammed into my
oh
window right in
God.
front of me.
Definitely time to move.
No. What was I saying?
Stimulants.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and
stimulants.
your
So if you
sleep
get
history.
my opinion with the stimulants is that if you get a good night's sleep, your body's adrenaline is going to kick in when it needs
That
to
makes
get you to lift
sense.
that. Because what
Yeah.
happens for me, and I see this happen with a lot of my guys that I work with, I hate calling them clients. It's just my little pet peeve.
Yeah.
Some
Okay.
of the guys that I work with is they'll take a pre-workout and I'll take a pre-workout and I'll go in to the gym and I'll burn all my adrenaline in 45 minutes and I'm cooked for the rest of the session.
Yeah.
And listen, part of the reason the gym is fun is that adrenaline rush. So
Absolutely.
if you really want to be burning all your adrenaline in 45 minutes or an hour and then being dead for your last few accessories, I mean,
Yeah.
you're already not motivated to do those because they're already going to be more boring than your main work, chances are. So why are you going to make those less enjoyable for yourself and probably not get much of a boost on your main lifts? That's my take. Now, if you get a bad night of sleep, or if you just came off of a 10-hour shift, you do whatever you need to do that gets you in the gym.
Like
I'm
for
not
that
saying,
specific situation, but
yeah,
not kind of chronically.
but if you're someone who, like if you're a college student and you work like 10 hours a week and the worst thing you have to do is wake up for a 9 a.m. class, dude, you're already like, you're in the prime of your youth. If you slept more than like 7 hours, you're fine. Just go in and
Yeah.
lift, man. I think Sam Sheether has a good quote, and it's like, in every other sport besides lifting sports, it's not uncommon for your coach to tell you to train harder and that like you're not executing properly, but in lifting it is. So I think we need to normalize telling people they're being a pussy and go like
Yeah.
actually try. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
needed
Yeah.
that. I know I needed that when I was younger.
Uh,
So I don't know.
well, it makes a lot of sense to kind of not introduce this artificial kind of hype, and I think when a lot of people talk about not wanting to do like hype singles or the cost of that to like your sort of central fatigue, it probably is a combination of people snorting some C4 and then putting on some black
Yeah.
metal or something, right? But it's like if what you're talking about is like having that, letting your body respond naturally, because man, when you're walking out your last warm up on squat, it's like you're going to naturally get some adrenaline whether you want it or not,
Yeah.
especially on a day when I think even more so on a day where you aren't up yet. And it's like, oh God, that felt heavy. And that was like, you know,
Yeah, and
and I'm
that's your
about to do
wake up
that
call,
for
buddy. You better
5, right?
you better
Yeah.
pick it the fuck up, put some ass
Right.
into this. Or you're not going to
Yeah.
get it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really sustainable strategy, you know, especially for like someone who's more into the strength training side where you are kind of maybe pushing higher percentages, you know,
Mhm.
more regularly. But
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, I think it's pretty good knowledge out there, but if you as the viewer, this is your first time learning this, most of the fatigue you get when you hit that early intermediate stage is not going to be muscular fatigue. That's pretty much cleared up within 3 full days. The main type of fatigue you're going to get is nervous system fatigue and adrenal fatigue, and both of those take a while to recover from. So why are you going to take this exogenous substance? That sounds bad. Why are you going to take this supplement
Sure.
to jack up your adrenaline and just completely blow all your fatigue out of the water? Really, you're not even going to perform. It's just that you're burning all your adrenaline in one big sitting instead of hyping up for your set, during your set, chilling out. And it's more of this waving pattern instead of just
Right.
being hit with a tsunami of adrenaline and then being tired for the rest of the day.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, I think going back to West Side, like I think about those workouts, they were kind of in and out of there. Even with their accessories, they were moving fast, you know, especially on dynamic days. Like, so I'm sure that there were a lot of stimulants and exogenous
Oh
substances,
yeah.
you know, involved in that. But like they got very hyped, like a 9 on the hype RPE, but they were that way for 40 minutes, you know, and they weren't hanging out. And so it kind of, I think there's probably something to just accepting your personality and how that carries over into your proclivities for training and trying to work around that to some extent,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Yeah, I definitely think the personality thing is
yeah,
one of the most important things. I mean, Louis Simmons is the only person I've ever heard talk about personality in lifting, you know, like introverts versus extroverts. I don't really buy into that so much. It's more about how hype you are, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's just a single scale of hype is like the only metric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other things too, I'm sure, but like confidence is probably another one, but obviously confidence is not necessarily a personality trait. It's more of, you know, kind of something that comes and goes with circumstances in your life. I do think it's actually pretty important that you have some competition, you know, so that you can get a little more hype. So I'm going to be I'm planning to do a meet later this year
Awesome.
in New Mexico. And I was looking at some of the most recent USAPL like results. There's only one person in the weight class that would actually challenge me. It's a very small state. And so I'm going to compete in the opens because even though I'm a junior lifter,
Nice.
I don't want to be I don't want to feel like I'm just walking in for a trophy that I didn't actually have to work that hard for, you know?
That's
And
bold.
frankly, I'm
Yeah.
not going to win the overall anyway, because I have a really close friend who's competing and he is a freak of nature and he's like 60 pounds lighter than me. So there's just
Oh, wow.
no
Yeah.
possible way. I think I'm not sure how much you weigh, what your weight is.
Oh, I'm a manlet, man. I'm 5'8". I'm like 205 right now.
Okay. So if you took pretty much if you took your lifts and then cut like 30 pounds off of your body weight, that's where he's at.
Oh my God.
And I don't know where you're located at, but in New Mexico, that's like it's literally him and one other guy.
Yeah.
That's like
Okay.
best in the state right there.
Yeah.
For drug tested at least.
Yeah. So is he, wait, I'm trying to math it. Is he an 83? Is that where he's competing?
Yeah, he's an
Or 75. Okay,
Yeah.
nice. So what are you going to come in at? Because you're like 240 right now, right?
No. So
okay.
for all my PRs, I guess except for the squat PR now, I was around 240. I was between 240 and 245. And then I had the whole breakup thing and stopped going to the gym as regularly. So I packed on a little bit. I'm around like 252 right now.
Okay. So
But
that'd be like 120, right?
Yeah, but I would be I'm gonna cut down for the meet.
Okay.
Like pretty significantly because I mean, frankly, I'm gonna be single again and I would like to have a little bit of leanness, you know, because I'm not like
that's always there, man. Yeah.
Listen, I'm not like super chubby or anything, but it doesn't, you know, it helps to have some veins. So
absolutely.
so I'm gonna try and be down under 220. or I guess 100 kilos.
Wow, that's a big drop. I was thinking 110. Wait,
Yeah,
does
so
USPS still have a 110 class? Or is it
so
105?
USAPL is like the old school powerlifting weight classes. It's not like the IPF weight
Okay,
classes anymore.
okay. Yeah, right, because
Yeah,
there's a split.
they
Yeah.
went back. Yeah, I thought about doing a Powerlifting America
Mm,
meet instead, which is the new US for section of the IPF.
yeah.
But I saw the nationals results for Powerlifting America
Uh,
for the open for the 120 kilo class, and I wouldn't have come last. So I'm not even interested
wow.
because like, listen, it would have taken me a long time to get up to first, but in my head, I'm a nobody, and I gotta cut my teeth a little more before I go, not coming last at nationals. You know what I'm saying? I have to.
That's interesting.
I feel like I need to climb that ladder more.
Yeah. You feel like you got to earn it in a deeper field and competition, I guess.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
to me sitting here, I feel like, every day that you're putting in your accessories after you've loaded cargo for UPS, I mean, that's when you're earning it. But,
Yeah, I think it's definitely something to wrestle with because I can almost kind of separate what I do for work from what I do in the gym. Because my accessories a lot of times are very like, I'm not gonna say easy, but it's like it's more density type thing where I'm only
okay.
resting for 60 seconds.
Yeah.
So like if I had a really hard day that day where I was in the belly of a plane, which is 3 feet, so I'm crawling on my hands and knees.
Oh, wow.
Um, and that doesn't happen to me that often, but if that were to happen, I would just
Yeah.
rest for 2 minutes instead of a minute or a minute and a half.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what I would be concerned about is if I was going in and trying to do it like a heavy single on squat, deadlift, bench press
Sure.
after that, that would be concerning.
Yeah.
But, um, also luckily I've been there long enough now that I kind of can get my way into more of the cerebral jobs where I'm not
Okay.
as like in the thick of things. But I mean, there's only so much you could do to avoid exercise at a place where you're loading packages. So
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. But that makes more sense why your kind of training strategy is splitting up like the heavy work, before you go in, because then it's like, I've had things in my life where like the priority, the deep, isn't that the buzzword, deep work, like the Alex Hormozy word or whatever, but like,
yeah.
yeah, like I do it first, right? And it's like
Mhm.
then it's done, and whatever shit comes up in your day, it's not gonna, you've already gotten that checked off. So I think that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
I definitely think like the whole power building thing kind of bugs the shit out of me because
Yeah.
you're all power builders. Like maybe like Thor Bjornsson or
Uh,
Milanachev is not a power builder because they've already got all that muscle mass. But for the rest of us, the biggest thing that separates you from Dan Green or me from, I don't know, Alexei Novikov is that they're a lot more muscular than we are right now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So why are you gonna limit yourself to doing, one heavy set of two, RPE 7.5, and
Right.
then go pack it up for the day, do a couple back downs and leave.
Totally.
You need to build you need to build an ass, literally. You need to get some glutes, some
Yeah.
hamstrings, some lats, some pecs. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing that separates you from a world champion.
So is that pretty fundamental to your philosophy? You kind of do a lot of accessories like in maybe disadvantaged positions, like a close grip bench or like a good, or not a good morning, but like a stiff leg deadlift.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I've I I came from a very different perspective than a lot of people. Not very different, I guess. I was a skinny kid. So when I started lifting, I was 149 pounds. At the same height and everything too, which
Wow.
people just,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was literally just a rail. And I gained 30 pounds in my first 9 months of lifting. Which I don't know. I feel like that's pretty normal. And then it kind of
Yeah.
tapers off. I never really tapered off except when I was hurt.
Wow. So you just
So
did that take intention with your kind of eating?
yeah.
Yeah.
I would feel like that's actually the biggest part of why my progress got so explosive in the last like 6 months or so was that I actually focused on protein intake,
Okay.
because I was kind of just eating whatever mom cooked.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
or when I was living in a dorm, it was like whatever I could get my hands on
Uh,
basically. But now that I'm kind of living like in my own place type thing, you know, I got 2 protein shakes a day. I'm eating, you know, I don't know, like 2 pounds of chicken a day, like that kind of thing.
Nice. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm doing, I mean, a fair amount of like cardio and stuff to burn off a lot of that too, but not intentionally, because obviously I'm at work and I'm burning a lot of that off.
Yeah.
But, you know, just little things, trying to get your steps in and trying to manage that diet is a lot of the reason why I think I put on so much progress, like so much good quality weight over the last 6 months or so, 9 months.
So do you focus, I mean, you have like a protein goal, it sounds like, but do you focus on, are there any other strategies? Like, are you worried about, I mean, you mentioned Sam Shathar, and he kind of is like a little bit of a vertical diet guy, you know, and he thinks about his micronutrients, but you know, are you just kind of letting it come
I bought 3 books on training and just lifting related stuff. You got West Side Barbell Book of Methods, their squat and deadlift manual, and then the Vertical Diet by Stan.
Oh wow, okay, nice.
So I'm a big I don't follow vertical to a T.
Yeah.
Because the bottom line is that I'm a broke college kid, and I gotta get it where I can.
Yeah.
But you know, it is, I would say, the biggest influence or the biggest change that I made in my diet, besides the protein, was the inclusion of a lot of carbs.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, I mean, like, you know, even from a body composition perspective, you know, I found that like I can gain, and it seems like it's a smaller percentage of fat that I'm gaining if I kind of prioritize carbs versus like, you know, letting in, like, I have a baseline of fat that I hit every day, but like then I try to backfill with carbs, you know, beyond like my protein goals. So
yeah. So to my understanding, the reason why that works is insulin is more anabolic than any anabolic steroid, which is why bodybuilders take it. Yeah,
that's wild.
Everyone thinks about trenbolone sandwiches,
right?
And, you know, and testosterone, and, you know, A-bombs, all that stuff. Insulin's more, you could put all those together, and it's more anabolic than all those.
Wow.
And the only way you can get your body to release insulin is by consuming carbs. So you have to, I mean, if you get carbs before workout, because it's your body's main source of fuel.
Mm-hmm.
And then you slam protein with the carbs, and the insulin shuttles the protein into those tissues that you just trained, essentially. And so it helps to repair everything in a more complete manner.
That makes sense. It's almost like the whole's greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, it's like a 1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah. That's a great summation. That makes a lot of sense.
Listen, I'm a exercise science major, but nice. I do get a kick out of the pharmacology and all that kind of stuff. I'm a good MPMD enjoyer. So
yeah,
you know,
dude, it is interesting. Even as like on the natural side, it's really fascinating. It made me wish I'd done biochemistry, but I have like an 8th grade science understanding, which is probably part of why I'm so superstitious, because I just don't understand, you know, how the physics works. So it seems like it was a ghost or something.
Yeah, I mean, the human body is definitely more of an art than a science as it is right now. You've got a couple hard, fast rules, and then you kind of just fill in the rest. But we do know that, like, you know, like things like that, like insulin's really anabolic. You got to eat carbs to release the insulin. And then the protein is your building blocks. Everyone knows that. The other thing people don't know is that the type of protein based on the amino acid is actually more anabolic than others. So chicken and beef and like dairy-based proteins are like significantly more anabolic than vegan-based proteins. And that's not even me being like, oh, you know, carnivore diet for the win or whatever.
Right.
It's like just a biological fact that leucine induces more mTOR activation. That's just how it is. And that's why I think it's so interesting. There was like that movement a few years ago, like the vegan, no offense if he's watching this, I know his name and it gets mentioned and he watches it, but like Vegan Gains and all of this stuff. And it's like, yeah, you can get big vegan, but like other than moral reasons why.
Sure. Reason? Yeah, so. Absolutely. Because it's clearly not the most efficient path. So it's very impressive that you're doing that in spite of yourself. But like, if you don't have that ethical kind of underpinning, it's why are you going that route? I think that Alex Leonidas has talked about moving toward a more vegan diet recently, and maybe Eric Helms too, which, they're also doing a lot of calisthenics. So it's like your time has passed, man.
they can do whatever they like.
Yeah.
I know that while I'm trying to get somewhere as quickly and efficiently as possible, I will continue to eat animal products.
So, absolutely. Same here. Yeah. I'm a big beef boy. So
yeah. I love beef. Financially, it just doesn't
totally
make sense for a lot of people. So
yeah. I mean, I try to have like 8 ounces a day. I'd love to have more than that, but I just do my last meal usually is, just ground beef. And so
are you a vertical diet guy?
No, I'm kind of in your situation because I'm also below the poverty line.
And well, you're getting your doctorates, man. You're fighting for dear life.
Yeah. And the job market, shockingly, for an English PhD is not that bright compared to maybe like a legitimate PhD or like an MD, which is something you find out when you get to the, when you defend your dissertation. But yeah, I kind of hate rice. I'll do the bone broth with it and that helps and it's cheap, but like I let in some Rice Krispies after I train. I do like whey milk Rice Krispies, and then I love bagels, man. I'm like, my food preferences are basically that of like a sorority girl. I love bagels.
There we go.
I love cereal, all that shit. And I mean, so I try to go light on.
Have a fiance with this kind of diet.
Totally. Yeah. We do. She definitely is influenced, if she puts it in the pantry, I'm like, I wouldn't have gotten that for myself, but it's carbs. So, I'll take it.
What?
Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, I'm like, I try to cover my bases. I could do the eggs for choline in the morning, and I find that it helps like my alertness when I go train in the morning. I know that you want carbs peri-workout, but like I think I want a little fat and I want the eggs for the choline.
Especially in the morning, you're fasted and everything. You kind of just want everything.
So, that's a good point. Yeah, to get it going. Yeah. I mean, it baffles me that people are like, so stringent about the protein timing and 3 hours there's like a refractory period for muscle protein synthesis, but it's like, man, that was based on just not even mixed meals and just whey protein or like just amino acids. And it's like, you don't think that just from the fact that you can still taste the oatmeal you ate this morning when you burp it up at 3, like that your stomach is still digesting it, it's still sitting in there. So like, I think that I used to be really anal about that shit. Like, okay, I have to wait at least 3 hours, but no more than 5 hours between protein feedings, and like, if I have one bite of steak, it'll fuck up my whole, protein synthesis profile. But now I'm like, that's just not realistic, man.
Yeah, man.
So
something about lifters, man. There's some of them, not like, no offense, obviously, but some of them can be real anal. And I'm in this camp too, where I was like, I've got to, it takes 72 hours for the muscle to repair itself.
Yeah.
And all this stuff back in the day. And I used to be real anal about that too. And I just like, I look back on it and I'm like, wow, I really just, like, I guess it's kind of true in a snapshot of time in this one study.
Yeah.
But if you really look at, human evolution and just animals in general, you eat when it's available. Like, totally. And your body's going to digest it at some point, maybe not immediately, but it'll digest it to what you want it to be eventually. So
yeah. Well, Milo Wolf did the meta study of looked at the protein feedings and there was still like elevated muscle protein synthesis from like 100-gram protein feeding, 12 hours later or something. Mm-hmm. So it's just not, I think that people fail to recognize that the body, as you said, is such a complicated equation that we can't account for every variable. There's more going on than we can even like try to quantify. So,
I mean, even as an exercise science major, when I try to like look under the hood, man, it's just like, it's like a whole other language. Like, I understand the whole, like, doctors are, like why people think doctors are so smart is because they have to get all this damn terminology memorized and they have to understand what each little piece does. And even then, if you talk to a doctor about what's actually happening when, with muscle protein synthesis, they'll give you like the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
They're not going to know much beyond that because the terminal for them, it doesn't make any, like, there's no reason for them to know all this other stuff behind it.
Totally. Yeah.
And for the rest of us, frankly, we cannot understand a lot of that terminology, because there's probably less than 1,000 doctors worldwide, like, who are actually actively studying this stuff and understand what everything means, and they still don't understand how it works. So why are you going to try and micromanage the tiny little pieces of science? Just go in, work your ass off in the gym, eat your ass off at home, sleep your ass off at home, and just do what you can. Try to make it fit in your schedule, and you're probably going to grow. It's just the reality of it.
That's the soundbite, man. I think the other thing that frustrates me with that is like the same guys who like set a timer between meals, you know, to hit that refractory period for protein. It's like you also stay up scrolling on Instagram until 1 a.m. And as someone who has sleep problems, it's like I despise anybody who willingly chooses not to sleep and doesn't do everything they can to go to sleep, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm wearing the blue light blocking glasses. We got Himalayan salt lamps in here, so you know it's red, and that's allegedly supposed to help. But
yeah, because the blue light keeps you awake, but the red light is I haven't dug into that too much. I used to have blue light blocking glasses, but this is so dumb. My house got robbed like 2 years ago.
That's not dumb. That's traumatic.
No, but listen, this is what's dumb about it is they took my fucking blue light glasses. They didn't take anything. They didn't even take my TV, but they took my blue light glasses.
Just a couple of Andrew Huberman pilled thieves,
exactly.
You know?
Man, well, it was really kind of a sad situation, to be honest, because they took my roommate's TVs, but they did not take mine because it was like too old or something.
Oh wow.
Which I thought was hilarious. Yeah,
that is pretty good.
But also I'm a pretty simple guy. I don't like have that many earthly possessions. You know, I have some nice clothes, and then I have like a TV and Xbox from when I was like 12, and then that's kind of it.
Nice. I mean, that's a good way to go through the world, man. I'm a similar way. I've moved across cross country a couple times, and it's like a freeing thing for me to drop the shit that I've accumulated, where I'm like, I really don't need to bring that with me, you know. Do you think that part of that for you is because you have something so substantive that's kind of driving your days, like this passion for, you know, guiding people with their own strength training, and then obviously your strength training? Like that almost feels like, you know, I think a lot of us accumulate things because we're missing that, you know, and we're looking for it in objects instead of like a pursuit.
It's really hard to tell.
I
do like enough. The truest answer is that I think I'm really anal about money, and I just don't want to have to go buy things that I'm really not going to enjoy or use that much.
Absolutely.
But also I came from a background where like my parents are both pretty materialistic, and so I kind of got waterboarded with that as a child. Where like they would buy me all kinds of new stuff, and it got to a point where it just didn't mean anything. And you know, and now it's like they'll ask me, they're like, what do you want for your birthday? What do you want for Christmas? And I'll be like, a West Side barbell hood, or I'll be like fat grips.
Yeah.
Because like if I don't tell them it's something for the gym, they're gonna go out and buy me something that's like $150, and I won't enjoy it that much, you know. And that's not fair to them, and it's not fair to me either.
So. Absolutely. 1000%, man. I just now have gotten, and this is an annual conversation. I've gotten to the point where my parents stopped buying me a stocking, you know, like my dad just goes overboard, and it's like, I'm never going to use this thing from a joke shop that's like Shakespearean Band-Aids or something, you know, and it's just, it ends up cluttering up space. And so finally it's to the point where I'm like, you know, just give me a couple tubs of whey protein, and, you know, I'll appreciate that deeply.
And call it good. Yeah. Something you'll use. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the real secret, right? Is like finding a way to mesh personalities with people that you've lived with your whole life, but you feel like, man, you just really don't understand this person that well.
Yeah. And I think there's part of the answer is just accepting that there's parts of them that are always going to be beyond you, right? Mm-hmm. And so you learn how to navigate around that without trying to push too hard, you know.
Completely agree. I think a lot of people, and this could be a whole different topic all on its own, but I think a lot of people get so caught up trying to please others that they just forget that the only person they have to really make happy is themselves. And obviously
Absolutely.
that can get taken to an extreme. I'm not pretending it can't,
Yeah.
but you have to make sure that your happiness is checked off before you worry about other people,
Yes.
because you being sad or whatever it might be is going to affect those people you care about, because chances are those people you care about also care a lot about you.
1000%.
So you being happy would make them happy.
Yes. Yeah. And, I think that I've certainly, had relationships implode because I wasn't addressing kind of my needs in that way, and it is, I mean, whenever you step outside yourself, it's absolutely a disservice to the other person, to not come to them being full, because that's a recipe for codependency, and you're asking for them to do something that they can't do for you and that you have to do for yourself. Whatever that baseline is on Maslow's hierarchy to check off, then you're complete and you can come together with somebody. But, I also think that most people at the core are altruistic, and we satisfy our selfishness by making the people that we love feel cared for. I want to make my fiance feel good because it makes me feel good because I care about her, right? People would be a lot happier if they just accepted that everyone is selfish and didn't try to disguise their selfishness,
Yeah, exactly.
Because
they try to act like they're super selfless and shit.
Yeah,
that shit bugs the fuck out of me.
100%.
I've been in relationships before, and they I know you're doing things out of selfishness, and that's okay.
Yes.
That's okay. But be this is my thing with everyone.
Yeah.
You be who you want to be. If you want to do rec drugs every day of the week and then, take your kids to school because you've been up all night or whatever, okay. Just be honest with yourself.
Sure.
You can still be a good person while doing some bad things, but you have to be honest with yourself about who you are and be honest with others about who you are if you actually want to see a change in yourself.
Well, if you don't have that self-honesty and that self-awareness, you're never going to achieve any personal growth. And I mean, I think that's something just from the outside of our conversation, I recognized in you that, you're not just applying that to kind of your relationships and how you go about life, but you're applying it to the thing that really matters the most, which is your strength training.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes me such a good coach. And, I don't want to be like some arrogant asshole, but I am a good coach, and part of what makes a good coach is being able to be aware of what's wrong in what's wrong in the people you're helping, and then being able to actually effectively address that.
Absolutely.
And I can apply that to myself. And that's where I learned how to do it, was applying that to myself.
Yeah.